Hey everybody, in consumer behavior, we're ready to talk about chapter 9, and it's all about decision making. Okay, there is a lot that goes on when we go to decide something, more than you think. And as marketers, we need to know about that journey that we take. Where do we go when we decide we need something and make a decision? So it all starts out with a problem. Every consumer decision we make is a response to a problem. Some problems are big, some problems are small. But our decision-making process is almost automatic for some things and long and drawn out for others because there's risk involved and an investment. Some decisions are made purposefully and rationally, and then others come from what we call purchase momentum. And this occurs when we initially buy something impulsively and we kind of like it and we get all revved up and we get on kind of a buying spree. I definitely get that. One purchase leads to another purchase, leads to another purchase sometimes. And you got to put the brakes on. So in this materialistic, consumerism America that we live in, we have so many choices, whether it's on a menu or at the grocery store or at the liquor store or online, whatever it is. Sometimes that can handicap our thought process, and that's where name brands come in. We just look at a picture like this and it's just like, oh my God, where do we go? What do I want? What's the pricing? Is it light? Is it a third less? Whatever. Is it low salt? Low non-dairy. I mean, there's all kinds of things going on here with this condiment aisle. Okay, so there's three types of decision making as a consumer. We have something that's cognitive, where we really think it through and we go through steps. Is it habitual, where it's unconscious and automatic because we know the product and we just buy it every week or every day? It might be that kind of falls under maybe coffee. Affective, something emotional or instantaneous. Okay, it's a quick buy because we were in the mood. Okay, self-regulation. Okay, so self-regulation is a person's effort to change or maintain their actions over time. It's a form of self-regulation. So, for instance, maybe we're dieting or getting ready to run a 5K, something like that, where we're over time building up to something. Implementation, intentions, plans, or a timetable to carry out a decision. If I do this now, then this will happen, and it's planning things out. Counteractive construal, when we exaggerate the negative aspects of a behavior because it will interfere with our ultimate goal. So, we might inflate the idea of calories in a snack so that we resist it. Feedback loop, provide real-time information about your actions. Sometimes, and that's what self-regulation is. It's, we need like a sign sometimes that you're driving too fast in a particular zone and you're like, whoa, okay, I'm driving 65. It's supposed to be 35. I got to slow down. Sometimes we don't know how to regulate ourselves, so we purchase things to do that. An example would be a Fitbit. Let me see how many steps I'm taking. How's my heart rate? Things like that. So think about something you do to self-regulate yourself. It could be an alarm. It could be a schedule. Some of us have no self-regulation, but it's something we need to have as we are maturing. So cognitive decision making, to start back with these buckets. It is the outcome of a series of stages that results in the selection of one product over a competing option. Rational perspective is, according to this view, we calmly and carefully weigh pluses and minuses of each alternative and arrive at a satisfactory decision. So an example would be something like financial planning or deciding on purchasing a home, or looking at colleges and weighing out the colleges like we did in the last chapter with Sandra. Okay, so the first steps in our decision making, depending on what it is, we first know that we have problem recognition. Okay, we do an information search, we look for alternatives, and then we choose our product. That's like the very simplistic form. Sometimes this goes real fast, sometimes it goes slow. So here's how it looks in this decision-making chart from the text. We know we have a problem. We then search. Maybe we ask a friend. Maybe we go on the web. Maybe we know certain products. We evaluate the alternatives. Maybe we look at pricing. Maybe we look at different websites, different stores. We choose the product, purchase it, and then we find out if it meets our needs and goals. And so there is a whole journey that we take, as I said in the very beginning of this chapter. And it's important for marketers to understand the parts of the journey so that we can meet the customer where they are in the process and hopefully influence them. So here's a breakdown. 81% of people conduct online research before they buy. I don't think any of us are surprised at that. 67% of their journey is now done digitally, okay? 95% prefer brands that provide content throughout the buying process, okay? 65% spend 16 minutes in comparison shopping before making a purchase. So that's really important, 65%. And 16 minutes is, I mean, it's not a long amount of time, but it's not totally short to get your message in there. If you're a competitive product, if someone's looking and making a decision. 83% require some degree of customer support while shopping online. Okay, that's a high amount. And then 80% of the buying process is expected to happen without any human-to-human contact by 2020, 80%. I would say that's probably right. It could be even higher at this point, especially with COVID-19. We just got into a whole other gear. So let's start at the beginning. Stage one, we recognize we have a problem. It occurs when the consumer sees the difference between my current state and my ideal state. Stage two, now I start searching, okay? When I survey the environment for appropriate data to make a reasonable decision. We pre-purchase or ongoing search. Internally, we think about brands and experiences we've had with brands. And externally, we search maybe an expert in an area, friend or family. And then we do some online searching. So I'm going to give my example. So my son is a digital marketing major at Dreyfus, which is a high school in Palm Beach, in West Palm Beach. And he needs a particular type of computer that will accommodate his schoolwork. And my husband, he also is turning 16, and my husband and I were deciding, should we get him a computer, and then what kind of computer? And we know it's expensive. So our process went like this. My nephew graduated from a similar type university, and he's in digital advertising. So I figured I'd reach out to him to see what he would recommend from people that he knows in the business and his own experience. So he got back to me and said, you know, look at Mac and look at iPad Pro. Each one has different attributes, like we talked about in the last class. So he suggested, you know, if you're into photography, you might like this particular one. If you're into something else, you might want something else. So he also suggested going on YouTube and listening to reviews, product reviews, which I thought was a good idea. And I did. Then it was down to, well, maybe my husband can get one cheaper because he works for a digital company and they do like bulk buying, but there was only a small discount. So then it was a matter of, do I want to lay all the money out at once because it's like $1,400? Or do I want to do this in payments? So that became, okay, where can I purchase this? So because I've actually worked for QVC and I know the quality of the products and I know I can watch a video about the product as well in a presentation, I decided to check and see if they have any product. And they did. And they have a 3 easy payments. They also have a like a customer warranty for up to 3 years for damage, for spillage, for cracking, whatever, that you can purchase. So that kind of sealed the deal for me. So it came down to 3 easy payments. They gave me a variety of colors to choose from, accessory package, whether it was earbuds or a stand or an actual bag, protective bag to put it in, colors to choose from, as I said, payment plan, and warranty, knowing I could return it if we weren't happy. So that's kind of like what I went through, but I used an expert that I thought was in the area, which was my nephew. So you may do something similar, but because it was a higher end product, that's why I went to such extremes for my information search. Okay, next, step 3 is alternatives, and I did refer to this in my example. The evoke set means, what are the alternatives that I know about? So I'll give you a little example here is, okay, we're hungry, we're in class, we're getting ready to go out to dinner after class, and our evoke set is the top 3 restaurants that come to mind. Okay, Chick-fil-A, Shake Shack, and Chipotle. Okay. The consideration set is alternatives that you will seriously consider, which means maybe someone in the group that you're going out with says, hey, why don't we go over to, whatever the local restaurant is, the farmer's table, or let's just go to the pizza place. So there's the evoke set, which is your own set you have in your head. The consideration set is something you'll consider. If maybe someone said, hey, I have a coupon, or they're having a 2-for-1 tonight, or they're doing a happy hour. Oh, guess what? I'll consider going there. So as a marketer, you want to be in a consumer's evoke set, because this is their share of, we call it share of mind. So many restaurants are going to come to mind. What we want, share of stomach, and then share of wallet. So we want people to want to know that our product is delicious and that they're willing to spend the money on it when it comes down to, where should I spend my money? Something a little more expensive like a Panera, knowing I'm going to get a better quality food, say, than a McDonald's. Okay? So it's important as a marketer to be in that evoke set, and it takes a lot to get into that set. Things like loyalty programs, good messaging, relating to the consumer. Okay, the last part here is called your choice. That's your last step. Okay. One thing you don't want to happen is what they call feature creep. And it means that there's too many buttons and too many alternatives, and to give you what you want as a product. So many products are returned because they're too complicated. So, or there's too much description. You want 3-4 things, features. You don't need 18 things that you may never even use, and then it becomes complicated. So think about if you ever returned a product because it was too difficult to put together or to use. Keeping it simple. That's the best way. Okay, step 5 is that, okay, I bought it, I made all the decisions. Now I'm in that post-purchase evaluation. And this is the part that closes the loop for us. We decide whether or not that product lived up to our expectations. And in our society today, we're into what they call social scoring, that we're rating performances. And this can be the lifeblood of businesses like Airbnb and Uber. If they get a bad rating, it can definitely hurt their future business. But it also seems that many of us read feedback all the time before we make decisions, just like I went onto YouTube because I wanted to see a review, what people thought, what the product could be used for. Sometimes, you read too much and you're like, how could the feedback be so completely different? And you have to watch who's giving the feedback as well. And I only do this when I'm buying products that are more expensive, but I do look at reviews. I was looking at reviews because I needed to buy a new vacuum, and I also needed to buy a carpet cleaner. And yes, this all has to do with my dogs, 2 of them, that are either peeing on the floor, on the carpet, or hairs everywhere. So I needed 2 new products, but I needed them to really be durable because pet smell is difficult to get out. Pet hair can be, all encompassing. So I needed to make sure that my vacuum or the carpet cleaner was really going to tackle those jobs. So I definitely did go ahead and look at the reviews so that I could get a sense of where people were coming from, like how they were using the product, if it worked. And there's always people who have a comment to make, like, oh, it's too loud, or it's too heavy, or it didn't fit under the furniture, or whatever it was. But then I have to evaluate, just like you do when you're looking at reviews, does that really matter to me? I mean, certainly if there's a bunch of negative reviews, we're probably going to steer away from it. But everybody wants feedback these days, and so I say check your receipt, because almost every single receipt wants your feedback about customer service. And they're going to enter you into a contest, or you get so many points, or you get a free something. Sometimes it's worth it. Okay. So this is a kind of a cool concept in the textbook, and I also cover this in my advertising class. But it's called neuromarketing. And it's a brain scanning device that tracks our blood flow as it relates to marketing messages and product features. Sections of our brain get turned on when certain tastes or things about the product excite us. So Frito-Lay decided that they were going to use their Cheetos and the messiness of the orange dust. They did all kinds of neuromarketing on this and found that people that were eating the Cheetos got very giddy about this orange messiness for whatever reason. I don't know. But maybe you can relate to this. But they created this thing called the Orange Underground. And they decided, you know what? This messiness is kind of like a negative that we can turn into a positive. And that's exactly what they did. They created an entire ad campaign around a bunch of them, actually, a series. And there's a bunch of them out there, but this is a funny one of Cheetos, and I think you'll like it. So take a look at this one, and hopefully you can relate to it. But it's called neuromarketing. Okay, online decision making. Okay, this is most of us now, right? We're making our decisions online, what to do. Okay, so Cybermediary is a company that would organize alternatives for us, like Google. Someone who bought this also like this, or name when you put something up there in the subject box that you're looking for, it shows you different alternatives. Intelligent agents, like I said, Amazon makes recommendations from your past purchases. And then search engine optimization, hopefully you all know what that means. It's called SEO. It's a likelihood that content will show up when you're searching for relevant terms. So as a marketer, we want to be on the top of that list because many people are just searching for products and sometimes they find an alternative. They don't really know what they want. And if you have the right status and your product is at the top, you're most likely people are going to purchase. So how do we put products into categories? Okay, we talked a little bit about this last 2 chapters ago. Okay, I think it was chapter 7 when we were talking about positioning. Marketers have the ability to convince consumers to consider products within a category. So this is an example, okay? In the world of orange juice, it used to be something that was only drank in the morning. And orange juice growers decided, why are we limiting ourselves? Let's make up a campaign that says orange juice is not just for breakfast anymore, to instill the idea in the consumer's head that you can drink orange juice anytime. But with messaging, we need to tell, in marketing and advertising, we need to just tell the consumer what to do. Okay? Hybrid products, for instance, SUVs, or athleisure is another new product position out there that a lot of you enjoy. Identify competitors. So anything that's vying for the consumer's discretionary dollar is called competition. Okay, so at dinner time, Panera is considered, and could Morton's Steakhouse. Typically, you're not going to compare those two, but when we're talking about I'm hungry and I have money and I'm making a decision where to eat, they are competitors after all. That's the share of the wallet we were talking about earlier. Create an exemplar product. This is a brand we strongly associate in a category, okay? So if I say think blank pie, what are you going to put in the middle there, okay? So that is a strong brand in a category. So I usually would say apple pie, but I've had students definitely say pumpkin pie, depending on if I'm teaching in the fall semester. So locating products in the store is another way to put a product in a category. So it has to make sense for you as the consumer, as to where the product is, so that you have some kind of direction. So a lot of times when a company is messaging about their product in an ad, they have to tell us where to go. Like, this new product is found in the dairy aisle. Look for this in the health and beauty section. So it's good to not jump to conclusions and think that products are easily found. Sometimes we need to give the consumer direction. Okay, evaluative criteria. So this is dimensions we use to judge the merits of competing options. So it's functional versus experiential. Okay, so we evaluate the criteria, so the dimensions of the competition, so that we need to make a decision. We have to kind of evaluate what our criteria is. What are we looking for? Are we looking for something to get us from point A to point B, or are we getting to point A to point B and looking good? Determinant attributes or features we actually use to differentiate among choices. Okay, these are determinant attributes. So marketers educate consumers about which criteria they should be using to determine their product choices. So again, see how marketers are basically telling the consumer what to do. So the example of this is, you go into any health and beauty aid, a Walgreens, a CVS, a Publix, and you go into the toothpaste aisle. Okay, it's like, wow, what do I get? I don't know. We kind of go with maybe what we grew up with, or maybe we're looking for a particular attribute. So in this case, this attribute that Arm & Hammer uses, besides clean and fresh, is that they're all natural ingredients. So they're going after a particular segment of in the consumer behavior that is looking for those type of ingredients. That kind of attribute makes that product different, right? It has all natural ingredients versus, say, a Crest or a Colgate. Okay, the power of authenticity. So transparency is very important today. We want to know the storytelling behind a product, where it came from. It's important to us. We don't want, especially your age group, you're looking for something that's more authentic and has a purpose. So the example in the real world is that, again, go to a grocery store, go to the dairy aisle where the yogurt is. And again, choices everywhere. So Chobani yogurt is a Greek yogurt on net. They decided to go into the Greek side of yogurts, and they realized that this can be a less fattening yogurt. So they use that attribute to promote their Chobani yogurt. So you have Yoplait over here that's been in the business for a while, and they said, well, wait a minute, we got to do something here to compete. So they came up with a product called Oi, okay, a French yogurt. Again, since Chobani's Greek, they had to have something that was, Yoplait, it's French. We think of, French, they're healthy, they're thin, they're beautiful, they're sophisticated. And this particular product, to even stand out even more, is for oui, is how they say it, O-U-I. I did not take French, but we all know that is a cute little word. We can use it, you get the point across, and it's in glass. So it kind of already sets it apart, making it more authentic. It has a foil top, a little bit different. I'm not sure how well they're selling, but again, it's that point of differentiation, also that authenticity, that it's coming from France. Whether it is or not, I have no idea, but it's connecting with us as a consumer. Okay, so we often rely on rules of thumb to make routine decisions. I think we can all agree to that. It's like a shortcut for us, okay? So cut through the clutter. We know we like X, okay? I'll give you an example. I know I like Coke. I don't like Pepsi. I'll drink Pepsi if that's the only thing. But if I'm ordering a soda, which usually doesn't happen, I'm going to order a Coke. It's a shortcut for me. I know I like it. I've had good experiences with it. Gives me a little sugar rush when necessary. Okay. So when decisions, the rules around how we make decisions. So compensatory rule is it allows for a product to make up for its shortcomings on one dimension while excelling on another. Okay, so let me explain a little bit what I mean here. So a simple additive rule leads to the option that has the largest number of positive attributes. So if we're making a decision about something, we're going to look at the label. Maybe if we're talking about a food product, look at the label. And if it has more positive attributes than negative, then we're probably going to go with it. For instance, if it's non-GMO and maybe non-dairy and high protein and low sugar, and maybe some of these things don't pertain to us. Like, I don't care if it's non-GMO or gluten-free. I'm not any of those things. I actually am, but if you were reading it, but it had all these attributes, if it hit most of the attributes you were looking for, you're probably going to make the decision to go ahead with it. The weighted additive rule is going back to that college list again with Sandra. It allows us to take into account the relative importance of the attributes by weighting each one. So for me, for instance, if I'm looking at that same product, food labels, right off the bat, if it's not gluten-free, I'm not getting it. I'm allergic to wheat, so that would make sense. Okay, so that's where that weighted part comes in. So if it is gluten-free, and then it comes in some really good flavors like peanut butter chocolate, and it has high protein and low sugar, that's where the weighted additive rule comes in, or the example we gave before of what college to attend. We don't necessarily do that with every little thing, but for me, and maybe for you, some certain things like organic is really important to you, or maybe you're a vegan. So automatically, you're not going to buy the product if it is comes from animals, okay? If it's not plant-based. So non-compensatory rule is when we make habitual or emotional decisions. If an option doesn't suit us on one dimension, we just reject it altogether. So we have different rules. I'm going to go down through here. There's 3 of them, okay? Lexicographic rule, we select a brand that is best on the most important attributes we're looking for. So if we're looking for in a product price and style, or maybe price and convenience, okay? If price seems to be the thing we really want, but if it's also style, then we're going to go with that. But if it's for convenience, then we go in that direction. So we elimination by aspect rule is the next one. It's similar to lexicographic in that it evaluates brands on the attributes we're looking for, but it imposes certain cutoffs on our decisions. Okay, so that means that, sure, I like the price and I like the style, but if it can't be delivered by the weekend, I'm going to have to look at an alternative product. That's definitely happened to me before because I procrastinated in getting something because I needed it right like the next day. Okay, and the third one is called conjunctive rule. And it's unlike the rules above, which are based on attributes. This rule is based on brands. This leads to choosing a brand if it meets attributes that you're looking for and cutoffs. But if not, it may delay the decision. So, sometimes we're very brand loyal. And if they don't have our brand, we're not just going to substitute. That is for a lot of things. But in other ways, we're willing to switch it up. Some of us are very brand loyal, though. It might be, a particular beer that we drink. I like Corona or Corona Light. That's it. I'm not going to any other beers. I might do a cider. That's it. I'm not going to just have something else because it's available. I'll just drink red wine. Okay, so I know I'm relating everything to alcohol here. Okay, habitual decision making, choices we make with little or no conscious effort. Okay, this is our last slide of chapter 9. Okay, so 1 is heuristic, otherwise known as mental shortcuts. Okay, we do this with habitual. Remember I said we cannot go through some long decision making for every little thing that we do in life. Imagine if we had to. We would never go anywhere. We would be stuck in our little world of decision making. Covariation, associations among events that may not have any influence. So for instance, you might need to buy a car and the car looks good because it has no dents, but does that really mean it runs well? So that's covariation. So associations among events that may not have any influence. Okay, country of origin. We talked about this with the Yoplait yogurt. Associates a product from where it came from. So automatically we think, well, if it's a sports car and it's from Italy, it's got to be cool and it's got to be really nice. Or, oh, it's French wine, who knows? It could be the cheapest French wine you ever had, but it's from France. So that automatically gives it some kind of helps you make your decision. Okay. Familiar brand names, of course. This is that comfort that we have. I'm going to use Tide because my mom used Tide and that's what I'm going to use. Maybe I'm cold and I want soup. Guess what? I'm going to have Campbell's soup. I'm not going to have any other soup, maybe Progresso, but Campbell's is going to be that go-to, easy, comfort, familiar brand. And lastly, sometimes we make a decision on the quality of something and we base it off of price. But I always say that has to do with experience, because just because something's a higher price does not always mean it's good quality. A lot of times it does. I try to always go in the middle. I don't need to get the most expensive something. It just depends on what it is. And some people say, you get what you pay for. And I do believe that in some circumstances. In other circumstances, I'm willing to take a little pay cut, a little price cut for something that's, good enough, depending on what it is. Okay, so I will see you for the next chapters, but we are moving on, moving into quiz number 2. You're getting your field exercises done and working together as a group to get that paper written and get those survey results in so that you can analyze them. Any questions, please email me and I'd be happy to get back to you.